This is our first unit on Renaissance economics and politics. After the Middle Ages, many Europeans developed new attitudes and views about the world around them in a period called the Renaissance. This historic period began in the city-states of Italy and eventually spread north into the rest of Western Europe. It was a time of creativity and change in politics, change in economy, change socially and culturally. The Renaissance saw the rise of a wealthy merchant class, some of whose members would establish large international banks and also become patrons of the arts, thus making it possible for some of the greatest works of art, architecture, and sculpture the world has ever seen to be created. Politics became the domain of competing cities and their wealthy rulers, and the papacy in Italy. One of the most widely read and used books on politics was a guide to rulers on how to gain and maintain power. Its author's name has become synonymous with ruthless politics, Machiavelli, and the ideas in his book are still debated today. Although the Renaissance is most widely known for the Italian artists of the period, its impact on politics, economics, and other aspects of society was felt throughout Europe and around the world. A class of wealthy merchants became a dominant force in economics, politics, and the fine arts. The invention of the printing press led to a dramatic increase in information available to the public and contributed to the spread of new ideas, which in turn led to more change through events such as the Reformation and later nationalism, imperialism, and modern day globalization. So, setting the stage for the Renaissance. During the Middle Ages, the development and rise of feudalism had put much of Europe into what was largely a subsistence economy in which trade centered more around local friars than international markets. So, small local trade instead of big global trade. Beginning in the 11th century, however, trade began to revive due to a number of factors, such as improved agricultural techniques, which led to increased crop production. So you have more food to sell, so you're going to be selling more food. There was a rise in population, which contributed to the development of towns and cities. More towns, more cities, more trade. There was the emergence of new trade routes in the wake of the Crusades. So now you can trade with the Middle East. A whole sector of the globe has been opened back up thanks to the Crusades. The Muslim world is now open for business because of the Crusades. More trade. There were improvements in transportation, and especially in shipbuilding. Nothing goes further than a ship does. Nothing can carry more than a ship does. Nothing can make you more profit than using ships. There was the emergence of a currency-based economy as opposed to the barter economy Europe had been on. So I'll trade you a chicken for a bundle of wood. That's the barter economy. I'll give you $3 for a candy bar is the currency-based economy. The dollars are currency. With the shift to a currency-based economy, a new class of bankers, merchants, tradespeople, and artisans began to arise in cities and towns. Politics. The Renaissance originated in the city-states of modern northern Italy. Italy hadn't developed a strong central government during the late Middle Ages. Instead, it was made up of about 250 small states called city states. There's no idea of a Italy. They only think of themselves as Florence or Rome or Milan or Pisa, but not as one nation. Initially, many northern Italian city states developed as communes, associations of local merchant guilds that took care of most city services, such as building city walls, keeping civil order. Many local nobles chose to move into these growing cities, drawn by the economic and political opportunities available there. The merchants and the nobles in the cities merged in many ways through economic partnership as political allies and through intermarriage and other social ties. This created a new urban elite. Communes thus represented both a break from the feudal system and the creation of a new economic hierarchy. Politics in the communes was chaotic and often violent. Citizenship in the communes was initially based on holding property, which meant that many artisans and lesser merchants were excluded from political power. They also suffered under the burden of heavy taxation. Known collectively as the popolo, meaning the people, they pushed for political change. In many Italian cities, they eventually managed to get republican governments established where they have representatives, in some cases through force of arms. Many of these people, many of these popular governments, however, failed, either because the leaders didn't extend political power to the groups that had put them in office, or because they couldn't maintain civil order. Many city states ultimately ended up as dictatorships or oligarchies, which is the rule by a small powerful group. Although most retained the trappings and outward appearance of republican government, they were actually mostly dictatorships and oligarchies. The people did not really have power. In several city states, mercenary soldiers provided defense and kept order. This is the condottieri, the mercenary soldiers who kept the order. Condottieri. Look at that Italian peninsula. So many things going on. It's not united, right? Each color is a different, we can think of it as a nation. The nation of Rome, the nation of Naples, the nation of Florence, the nation of Venice. Italian city states not only suffered from internal conflict, but also came into conflict with one another in several different ways. They vied with each other economically, struggling for control of commercial trade routes. Notice most of these city states are on the coast, very easy access to trade. They struggled to control natural resources and access to seaports. They fought over territory when one city state sought to expand to another's domain. They went to war with one another when one city state seemed to become too powerful. They maintained a balance of power in the peninsula. They also competed socially, with each trying to outdo the other in terms of opulence, sophistication, and artistic achievement. Throughout the 15th century, Italian city states conducted a complex foreign policy marked by constantly shifting alliances, diplomatic intrigue, and the establishment of embassies and ambassadors to maintain and manage delicate political relationships. The five most important city-states were Florence, Venice, the Papal States, Milan, and Naples. You see them here. That is the end of our first video on Renaissance politics and economy.